What's up, everybody? This is episode 2 of Real Estate by Evo. On today's episode, I'll be talking about the process of buying a home, the do's, don'ts, what you want to know, and what you can expect in the process and this current market. First of all, I want to start off by saying if you are a first-time home buyer, I strongly recommend using a real estate agent. It can make the process a lot more smoother and a lot less complicated for you, not having to worry about deadlines, negotiations, etc. A couple of things you're going to want to keep in mind when looking to get approved for a mortgage with a lender. There are a couple of factors that they're going to take into account. The first one being credit score, debt to income ratio, assets and liabilities, and your employment history. Typically, for most loan programs, you're going to want at least a minimum credit score of 580. Sometimes if you do a larger down payment, you might be able to get away with having something in the mid fives, but typically you're going to want to aim for high fives and above. Debt to income ratio. Obviously, if you have a lot of debt, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to afford to make loan payments, and that raises a lot of red flags for lenders generally. They don't like to lend to people who have a lot of debt because they imagine that it would be pretty difficult for them to take on more debt and at the same time make those payments in a timely manner. Your assets and liabilities. If you have a lot of assets which are bringing you in monthly or annual income, then that's definitely going to help in the process, and no one wants liabilities. Let's be real. A couple of loan programs that are available to help you get approved for that home that you have been wanting. First of all, the biggest one and most common one I would say is the FHA loan program. Typically they're going to want a credit score of about 580, looking for about 3.5% down payment, although you can make a larger down payment if you want, but that's the minimum one they're usually going to want. There is going to be an appraisal process that will happen. Once you make an offer on the home and it is accepted, the FHA will send in their own appraiser to do an appraisal on the property, and you want it to meet that appraisal amount. If it does not meet the appraisal amount, a lot of times they won't accept the loan and you might be stuck in limbo at that point. So an important thing to do on a contract when making an offer is to have an appraisal contingency. Contingency is basically something that says, in the event that this happens, we are allowed to cancel the contract and no harm, no foul, pretty much. Another loan program that is very popular for military veterans is a VA loan program. This allows them to put down 0% financing with a credit score of 600 or above. Typically, you're going to need to have 90 days military service, and that is also going to require an appraisal. So a couple things to keep in mind. The most simple and easy one to be accepted and get is the conventional loan, which will usually require anywhere from 5 to 20% down payment. On a conventional loan, they're going to want to see a higher credit score, usually a minimum of about 620. So it's a little bit higher up there, but nothing crazy, Everyone can get their credit score to around 620. It's not that hard if you put in the work and put in the hours. Shout out to The Rock. USDA is another loan program, probably the least common. It's for rural areas, and usually you are required to have a 620 credit score or above. Typically, it's more for like farmland and, once again, rural areas, so not too common if you live in a city or whatnot. Once again, they're going to want to see a pretty good credit history and history of making payments in a timely manner. That's very important. You're actually going through the process of buying a home. There's going to be a couple steps and stages. First of all, you're going to look for that home, obviously. Once you find the one that you want, you're going to want to make an offer. In this market, a lot of times there are multiple offer situations, and those can be kind of hectic, especially on highly desired properties. Once the offer is accepted and received by the buying party, it's known as offer and acceptance, you are officially locked in, and from there you are under contract. Typically closing is about 30 days in most situations, although sometimes if it's a cash offer, the closing can happen at an accelerated rate. And in other situations, if the buyer's out of the country or if they are still waiting to get approval from the loan, then it can be pushed back and even longer than 30 days. Although typically sellers want to see a proof of funds or a pre-approval letter whenever making and accepting an offer. After that, there will be an inspection period where the buyer will select an inspector of their choice, and at which point they will have the inspector go check out the house, roof, foundation, pretty much everything. They'll take pictures and they will send a report. Then there will be an inspection negotiation stage where you will have the buyer and seller negotiating repairs, and that's when both sides have to be a little bit flexible, otherwise the deal can fall through a lot of times, especially if there's big issues, red flags and whatnot. After that, depending on the loan program, pretty much all of them except for conventional are going to require the appraisal that I mentioned before. You're going to want that appraisal to come in at or above the purchase price. If it is below, then that can be an issue in that the house might not be worth the amount, which you never want that to happen. And after the appraisal is passed, the inspection is agreed to, and the inspection repairs, rather I might say, are agreed to, you will have closing. And closing is the best day for everyone. If you have any other questions about the process or wanting to get approved for a loan, feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to assist you in any way I can. And until next time, guys, stay beautiful.